Learning how to draw figures and poses can feel impossible. I know because 2 years ago, I could not draw. I found myself practicing and failing. Practicing and failing. That's why today I'm going to teach you the fundamentals of drawing. Because when you learn the language of drawing, then learning to draw any pose you want will be like writing your ABCs. Language of drawing. Let me explain. You see, as artists looking to improve, we must first learn the language of drawing. And to understand what that is, we must first talk about illusions. Illusions. What do you see when you look at your favorite artists? Their use of color, their knowledge of anatomy, the story they're trying to tell. Inspiration. Well, when I first learned to draw, I was inspired. All of these artists had such a unique style that I wanted to copy. From the way they drew their figures to the way they drew their environments, everything looked amazing, and so I would try to copy, but I made massive mistakes when trying to learn from the professional artists. And that is when I realized professional artists are lying. They are not simply drawing from imagination. And that is actually the first step in learning to draw. As artists, we have to develop very specific tools and techniques that help give the illusion of a figure, a character, and a person. Tools. So what are these tools that these artists use, and how do we learn to use them? This is one of the first struggles I faced. How do you learn all the details, all the poses, all the anatomical parts in different angles? What are the artists doing in order to create forms and figures? The secret. It wasn't until 2 years ago when I heard an artist break down the form into simple structures that everything began to make sense. No longer did I have to think about learning all the anatomy. Suddenly, I just needed to focus on the three main masses of the human body: the rib cage, the pelvis, and the abdomen. Practice taking those three masses and using cubes in order to create form and volume. So once I knew cubes were the key, I studied and practiced placing cubes in 1-point, 2-point, and 3-point perspective. I would warp their shapes, overlap them to create depth, twist them to create dynamic forms and positions, and that is when figure drawing unlocked for me. You see, if you stop thinking about all the lumps and bumps, and if you start learning to simplify the human form, then suddenly we begin to think of shapes to help us create unique poses. As long as we can learn to match the shape to the pose, we can create whatever pose we can imagine. Now, just because we know that cubes are the answer, we may still struggle with learning how to draw. Well, if you're ready to stop feeling confused and start knowing the steps to learn, click the link to join my Drawing 101 mini course.